President Trump blaming the media for pushing the Russia fake news story in its first 100 days. Listen.
I have approvals in the high 40s. Every network that you see, with the exception of Fox, Fox has been fair, but every network you see hits me on every topic, made up stories like Russia. They do the Russia, the faux Russia. I call it the fake Russia story. Russia story was made up because they were embarrassed by their loss.
Yeah, so will the Russia story ever go away? Bloomberg View columnist Eli Lake joins us now. Eli, thanks for being here this morning. You've been all over this story from the beginning, getting scoops and information about who's leaking what and what's happening. So when you step away 100 days of this presidency, is this a faux Russian story?
Well, there is a legitimate question about how the Russians influenced the election. The FBI is looking into that. The two congressional intelligence committees are looking into that. But the argument that was made by Trump's opposition that he was a stooge of Vladimir Putin, that he would do the bidding of the Russians as president, which is as grave a charge as you can make, has not been proven to be right when you look at what Trump has actually done with regard to Russia in his first 100 days. Let's just go through the list. He has supported the expansion of NATO in a small country called Montenegro. The Russians are so concerned about Montenegro that a prosecutor in Montenegro accused the Russians of being behind a coup attempt earlier this year. Vladimir Putin is not happy about the fact that President Trump managed to strike Russia's only client in the Middle East, Syria, with 59 Tomahawk missiles, with pretty much very little warning, something that Obama was unwilling to do. Add to this news that the Justice Department and the CIA director are talking about prosecuting Julian Assange, who is now formally called by the U.S. intelligence community an asset, or basically said that, you know, he laundered hacked information during the campaign that actually the Trump campaign was willing to use against Hillary. But now that you have Trump's government willing to prosecute or saying that they're willing to prosecute Julian Assange of WikiLeaks, that's another sort of argument that the narrative that Trump is somehow doing Russia's bidding is just not right. Yeah. And that, I think, needs to be taken into account. When we look at all this.
And let's be clear here. I mean, we're a few months into his presidency. Still, no one has connected the dots with any collusion the president has had with the Russians. How much longer is this going to go on? Because it still seems to be a huge focus for much of the media. I mean, you watched some of the jokes last night the White House correspondents did. I mean, they still can't get over Russia.
Well, I would just say this, if that the more we're learning about what the FBI probe is, but we have to be very careful because all these leaks about, you know, ongoing investigations usually don't turn out very well for the media. I would just look up Scooter Libby or Wenho Lee. So sometimes what everybody thinks they know is wrong. But recently what we've learned is that a lot of this is centering around a guy named Carter Page who had a real peripheral connection, never met Donald Trump. If that's what it is, if it's Paul Manafort and Carter Page, and you know that does not necessarily look like Trump's inner circle, even though Manafort was for around 2 months the campaign manager. He was fired in August, and you know, you sort of see where it goes from there.
If that's your smoking gun, it's a water pistol. Briefly, you broke the story at Susan Rice. Any developments on that?
Well, I'd say at this point that there has been, you know, I think some wish casting on the part of Democrats that there's nothing to see there and there won't be any part of it. My sense is that there will be an investigation into the Obama administration's broader policy of unmasking, and that is going to be part of the reauthorization of the FISA law, which will be coming up in the next few months.
All right, Eli, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much.